Hey, we want to welcome everybody back for a Sacred Hoops podcast. I'm very fortunate today to have a guest that I deeply respect, and Jane Cheersma from FitLife Gym, and so we're going to dive into a lot of stuff today. We had some football playoffs happen earlier this week. We might just even throw a little bit of 9B football talk in today as well. I just want to welcome everybody again. We know we've rolled out our podcast series a couple weeks ago. It's the viewership has been unbelievable. So we just want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch some of our series that we put out here on our podcast, and have great guests like James is something that we really relish in. So James, welcome to the podcast this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It's kind of an evolutionary story. Obviously, I'm a lot older than James, but we both come from small town South Dakota in the southern part of the state, and what really turned out to be a kind of a rivalry. You're an Avon High School graduate, and so I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit before we get into FitLife and all that, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your evolution as an athlete, coming from a small school, then going to a big school to play, to run track in college. And just kind of your thoughts on what it's like to be a small school athlete.
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing like it, man. I am small town, 9-man B schooler to the core. I mean, I grew up just, I'm aware that maybe, man, if I grew up in Sioux Falls or something like that, I might not have had some of the opportunities to play every sport and let her all 4 years. But I know that, right? But I say it all the time. I see a lot of kids in today's world that go to these bigger schools. Kind of somebody that I think about is Randy Hart's my old boss, his son Noah. This guy was a stud athlete. Mm-hmm. He was a good athlete. Like, man, he's good. But, the school's just a little too big here. There's too many kids. Had he grown up in a smaller B school, I think there would have been a lot more opportunities for him to have some success. So it's just, I really relished that opportunity, not having as many kids. You work harder when you know the spotlight's going to be on you. And with the smaller schools, you just you have those opportunities more.
Not just that, I think what's cool about some of our smaller communities is how much the entire community embraces what you do. And I think sometimes that's a great responsibility in itself. Shifting gears a little bit, you were fortunate to play for, one of the best coaches in the history of South Dakota, and Coach Tom Culver. You want to talk just a little bit about the impact that playing for Coach had?
Yeah, I mean, we go. I just spoke to him not a couple weeks ago, and it was funny. Growing up, we had a little rivalry. I mean, I was just super competitive, and I was a stubborn kid. I was a sophomore, freshman. I didn't like to listen very much, and looking back now, he was right about everything. I was wrong about everything, but you don't really see that right away. You don't understand really how good these guys are. And it took me a little while to grow up, but man, looking back, and see what he's doing with this football program now. I think last year they were 2-6, and now all of a sudden they're 9-0, 10-0 right now with 2 games to go. So I mean, it really shows his expertise. He's unbelievable. He knows how to coach the players he has, and I think that's really what he was good at. It's just knowing his personnel and what their strengths are, and really excelling with that. So it was an honor to play for that guy.
Well, the cool thing is, and you talked a little bit about it, is I think sometimes as young people, they even got to go through that with their parents, mom and dad giving advice or trying to give you a path, and you're like, well, I don't want to listen to that, and then as you get older, you're like, man, they were pretty smart,
They're right about everything.
So with having that opportunity to play for Coach Culver, and now yourself, running FitLife and all the different people that you work with, and honestly, you're a coach. You're a coach. Yep. So before we dive too much into FitLife and what it means, what are some maybe key characteristics that Coach Culver passed on to you that now you utilize every day as you coach other people?
Sure. I think I don't know if you guys know who Martin Rooney is, but he's one of my favorite speakers. He's kind of deemed himself as the coach's coach. Mm-hmm. He'll be the first to say that a coach is the most important job in the world. Whether it's sports, business, whatever, coach is so important. And I think with Culver, it's words. I'm a big words of affirmation guy. And I had a lot of great coaches at Avon. Culver was elite, obviously his success, but man, I had a lot of great coaches there. And one of the things I always look back to is just the words. The words they say. I just think back on a regional game. I had 2 really big free throws to go to state, and we get into the huddle, and the coach looks at me and says, hey, after JT makes these free throws, here's what we're going to do. Words like that, where it's just, subtle things where they just believe in you. It's not, they don't do it intentionally. It just comes naturally. And I think that in these small schools, you can have a lot more intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have hundreds and hundreds of kids. So you really learn how to talk to people, because honestly, a coach in a small town, you need the kids.
Yes.
Football, we had 20 some kids out for football sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So you need all the kids you can get. So that you have to love on these kids. You have to words of affirmation. You have to build them up. And I think that's what Culver and all the coaches really at Avon did a really good job of.
Well, FitLife.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about it. I see, I follow you on Facebook, and I see some of the crazy things you guys are doing, and it's really cool to see just kind of the transformation for some of these people, whether it be young athletes all the way up to adults who are just trying to change their whole perception of life. And one thing that always sticks out to me, you guys, last year, I think it was a year ago, you had a group of guys get together, and I think it might have been weekly. You guys all worked together, but there was a couple of good friends of mine, like Mitch Gray and Jordan Crucy, that were in that group, and so it made me just think a little bit about how cool it is as athletes, and as people, as we get going, how no goal should ever be unattainable, and how even as an adult, when you get going, sometimes your health and fitness take a back seat, but that doesn't mean you can't revert that and change it. So I want to talk a little bit just about FitLife, the evolution of FitLife, and just some of the cool things you guys are doing.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually just bought the gym in May. I've worked at this gym for, I think it's been 5 or 6 years now. It was originally Complete Fitness, and I always had Complete Fitness really built the foundation of FitLife. I think that our tagline is culture wins. And it really is that. It's a culture. I know culture, that word gets thrown around so much. I get that. I know it does. But, I want people to walk into this gym and be like, man, something's different. I feel like that happens so much where we're not a gym. We always want to be people's third place. Everybody has work. Everybody has home. Like, what's your third place? A lot of people, unfortunately, it could be the bar. Yeah. It could be something, negative. Not always, but we want to be people's third place, where they come. Everybody know. We always say it's like your cheers. Everybody, you walk in, everybody knows your name. It's really cool, man. People come for the workout, but they'll stay for like an hour and a half after the workout. They don't just come, work out, and leave. It really is a family. We call ourselves the FitLife family, and it is like that. It's an extended family that people just care about each other. The workout, honestly, is secondary half the time. People get results because they want to be there and just want to be surrounded by the culture, because it is different. It's something like you don't get, Unfortunately, a lot of times people at home or wherever at work maybe don't get the positive affirmations and don't get those positive things in their life. They're not told how amazing they are and all these things. Well, we're just going to beat that with you all day long. We're going to tell you how awesome you are. So that's the fun thing. People come for the workout, but they just turn to family.
So people working out at FitLife, if I were to walk in on a typical day, athletes, high school athletes, collegiate athletes.
Our niche is 40 to 55-year-old women.
Wow.
That is our niche. I love training them. They are, I think I always tell people like this, think of the cool mom. You want to go and hang out with your friend's cool mom. But I have 50 of them. I have 50 cool second moms that I go and I have intimate conversations with. I can have, personal conversations with these people and their family. They're going to give me great advice. It's not just, there's no buddies talking down to each other. It's just one big family. Now, we do have some athletes. One particular, I'll give her a little shout out, Anna Brecht. She was just named preseason player of the year. So I train Anna and her family, Nate, Ellie. So, we do have an occasional athlete, but our true niche is that 40 to 55-year-old women. Now, we have everything, but that's kind of what we cater to most.
So, this is coming from a trainer standpoint. When you look at somebody coming in wanting to change their lifestyle, wanting to change their life, wanting to become more healthy, they walk in, they talk to you. What do you feel are some of the key mental attributes that a person must have to actually achieve what they want to achieve? Because I think a lot of times it's someone might come into mind and say, well, I want to tone up a little bit, or I want to lose 15 pounds. But But deeper than that, what does it take to actually be able to accomplish those goals?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, people come in on just a whim, right? They come in on an emotion. They come into the gym like, man, I need, maybe they looked at themselves in the mirror this morning and didn't like what they saw, so they quick fly into the gym like, hey, I need to change. Well, by noon, that fire's gone, and then the emotion's removed, so it's my job as a coach is to keep that pilot light lit, and to teach them how can we keep that fire going. So a lot of times it's not about motivation, it is really instilling the habits and instilling the discipline every single day. So really teaching them like, hey, being honest with them, this is not going to be easy. This is going to be an investment. It's probably going to be somewhat expensive, in the long run. This is going to be challenging, but getting them early wins, I think, is some of the biggest thing. And that's with sports, with life, with anything, but especially in the gym. If you can get somebody an early win, simple. Hey, can you drink 60 ounces of water for me tomorrow? And then text me when you're done. Can you eat 100 grams of protein tomorrow and text me when you're done? And it's just that little win. Like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. So it doesn't have to be, I always tell people working out is one of the first dominoes. The most important domino is the nutrition piece, right?
Yeah.
But that's like the third domino. And we can't get to that third domino without tipping over the first two, because if you're not working out, if you're not showing up, if you're not getting rest, you're not going to get to that nutrition piece. So it's just tipping over the dominoes as they come. And a lot of times just getting yourself in the door and getting a couple wins is the most important part.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Two more things before we kind of wrap up today. As somebody 2007 graduate of Avon High School, so removed for a few years now, and as somebody who still every single day is an athlete, right?
Yeah.
If you had your high school self sitting in front of you today, and you could say, hey, I want to give you a couple pieces of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, how long do I get
from
with
today? You got a couple minutes, right?
I'd probably slap him a couple times. No, I think the biggest thing is you're just not working as hard as you think you are. I take a lot of my junior and senior. I did work pretty hard. I lived right across the street from the gym. I had a key to the gym. And I'm not kidding you, man. I'd go to school, I'd come home, eat, and then I'd go and play basketball for 3 hours. I truly, that was my life. But, if I could just go back and say, hey, stop just shooting around, stop just going in there and shooting fadeaways and doing whatever. And, yes, it probably improves some skill sets, but really go in there with, purpose and intentionally and work on things like it's game speed and work on things with, because I was in there, if I'm in there for 3 hours, you're going to be there regardless. So why not do things super intentional and with a purpose? And I think if I could go back and tell myself one thing, it's, hey, man, you're working hard, but you're not working that hard. And let's direct your focus into a little bit more intentional activity, and it'll go a lot farther.
I think that's great advice in everything we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think no matter what we do, I think sometimes we waste a lot of time and energy because we're not necessarily having a true set of action plan or a purpose or a goal. We're just doing to do it,
Show
right?
up and do it,
yeah. So I think that's great. For those people who have maybe never been to FitLife or would like to get started on a plan and all that, how do they get a hold of you, James?
Sure. A couple different ways. My Instagram is probably the quickest way. JT FitLife, super simple. JT FitLife on Instagram. TheFitLifeGym.com. Or _FitLifeGym Instagram. In today's world of social media, it's kind of Instagram's the fastest way. But or Facebook. Of course, we have Facebook Gym, or the Facebook Gym on Facebook, and FitLife Gym on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so either one of those works.
Perfect. Well, hey, man, keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome to see, and it's always great to see us small town guys go out and do some cool things in the big world. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and wish you continued success. And if there's anything we can at Sacred Hoops ever do to help in any way, don't be afraid to shout out, man.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Well, hey, everybody, I just want to thank you again for tuning in to our latest version of our Sacred Hoops podcast, and want to wish everybody a great day.